Okay, I just went over and dropped the stock on the action and then dropped this rear pillar in and let it drop down to where it's going to fit. And then with it pushed down hard, I scored it. So see that little line there? Right above my thumb right there? That's where we got to cut this off to. So we're going to cut it off above that and then file it back to that mark. And that'll be the length for this rear one. A little bit of hand work. Got to go careful. We're going to cut it with a hacksaw and then come back and file it true. I'm going to set it up so that I can't cut it too far. So I'm almost using the side of my vise as a guide, so you can't cut too far. Better stock out of the way. It'll also help you cut square. All right, so we're just above that mark. All right, I'll set you in speedy mode. There we go. So I just dressed the corner with the file. I drug a file across it at different angles. And you take a couple strokes this way, turn it, take a couple strokes this way. It'll stop you from leaning on any one side and making it out of square. And of course, files only work in one direction, so that's the way you use them. And then you bang them out to clear the chips. Aluminum is really hard on a file, so it doesn't hurt it any, but it clogs. You know, it clogs up. So you may want to card it to get it clean. Don't let it get impacted. And just keep turning it, and you'll get it dead flat. Maybe not square, but dead flat, which is what you want. So we're at our mark. And then when you're totally done, you just break the edge so you don't have a burr. And then same thing in here. And I just use the sharp edges of the file to break that inside edge right there. And then just one more time in case anything hangs up over the top, and then we're good. So these here, we can dress them up, but they're factory, so they're probably pretty good. Make sure there's no burrs on it. Just hit it real quick. There we go. So we should be ready for this one to get glued in. Maybe I'll cut one more groove in here. These grooves here that you see are in here for the glue, for the epoxy. So maybe I'll cut another one or two out here for the glue to get sticking good. There's not going to be much glue back here, but there should be a little bit. But there's definitely glue all around this, so we'll cut maybe one more right around there. But that's ready. So now let's measure. There's the piece we took off. Let's measure and cut this one. Stand by. I just realized with this upside down and sideways stuff, it's going to be a bit of a task for me to make this all square on your screen. Anyway, so there's the side, there's the bottom. We're going to put it in the hole. Now I'm going to use this tool here to scribe the high side over here and over here. And it's aluminum, so it'll scratch pretty easy. This side might be sharper. Just poking the back of my hand. Just scribe it and hope we see it, and let's see what we get. Okay, all right, we got a couple of scribes. That's no good. So we got a good one there. We got a good one here. So on the double one, we don't know which one is right, but on the single one, we should be right. So let's put it in there again. Yep, that's the right one. So we're going to cut it off on the high side of that. We're going to cut it off just above that scribe, and then we're going to grind this semi-round to fit the action. Okay, there we go. Here's our second one cut. So let's stick it in there and see what we get. A little piece of aluminum in my file there. Don't want to come out. All right, stock. See what our pillar looks like. Okay, pretty good on the sides. We just got to dish it out. So we'll get started on that next. All done by hand. All right, I put it below flush, so it's below level here. And this will keep my file in between those two. I had a larger file and I can't seem to find it, so we're gonna have to go with this. It's also a little bit coarse, so we just got to go easy because it's going to remove a lot of material. We don't really need to remove a whole lot of material. Maybe a 1/16 of an inch, maybe that much. And then it's got to be radius to the sides. So we're going to just be careful we don't go too much. And we'll move it off to the sides. So we'll move it off to the right, move it off to the left, off to the right, to the left, to the middle. We can also finish this off right on the action of the gun with a piece of paper wrapped around the action, and you lay this on it and rub it back and forth, and it'll finish that shape for us. Make it perfect. It doesn't really need to be absolutely perfect. It's going to be formed and it's allowed to be with the epoxy when we put it in. See how hard it is to hold by hand. So we're going to put it back in here and go back to a little more. So much easier with the vise holding it. And let's see what we've got. Get that inside hole getting burred up because that's where our screw goes through. And let's see what we've got. All right, we got it pretty good. It's still just a little bit proud, but I think we're going to do the rest on the gun. I want to take a piece of coarse paper and put it around the action and just rub it back and forth, because we really don't have to take much off. I just want to make that contour a little better. So I'll do that off camera and I'll come back and show you what I got. Here we go. There it is. Contoured to fit the barrel. You can see where I got a little bit deep with the file, but it's not going to matter. We got plenty of contact area there. And again, this is all going to be skim coated with the bedding after the fact anyway. So that's going to be just fine. So there's the bottom. That goes into the flat bottom that we made up against that piece of black plastic. We're going to cut a couple more grooves, or at least one more groove in here. And there's the top radius for the stock, which is ultimately for the action. So let's drop it in here. And there we go. Dead flat. Beautiful. You see the little bit of gap, see the little movement? That's for epoxy. We want that. There we go. Back one goes back here. About like so. See the space around the back? Hopefully we can fill some of that in with epoxy. There we go. There's our pillars. Let's put some more grooves in them and mix up some epoxy and get them put in. Just as easy to put them in with a saw as anything else, because they do not have to be pretty. They're just places for the epoxy to get in and stick and grab. So you can put them anywhere and everywhere, and it's not going to hurt. It's only going to help. You're not going deep enough to compromise the integrity of the pillar. Just enough to get that epoxy in there. Here we go. Okay, there's that one. Let's do this one. Put a couple in the back side of this in case we can get that epoxy in there. Give it a place to grab and hold. Maybe it won't sag so bad or so far until it holds, catches. Again, it's not going to hurt. Not going to hurt anything. It's only going to help. That's it. There we go. One or two more right there. And that's that. Plenty of little cuts to hold epoxy. All right, let's mix up some epoxy. Let's do a dry fit. Let's do a dry fit. Put the gun all back together and do a dry fit. Let me quick clean up everything that's here.